The film opens with a woman named Loretta being interviewed by her daughter Becca, who enjoys recording everything. In this interview, Loretta is asked about her family life, and this leads to Loretta sharing many details, from her husband's infidelity to her decision to leave home. Loretta has 2 children named Becca and Tyler. After leaving home for 15 years, Loretta starts reconnecting with her parents through a website, and her parents want to meet their grandchildren. Loretta agrees to let Becca and Tyler spend a week with their grandparents because the kids are eager to meet them. Loretta then takes Becca and Tyler to the train station on their way to their grandparents' home. Becca and Tyler are going so their parents can have more time to themselves for a vacation. It's Becca and Tyler's first visit to their grandparents' house, and they've never met them before, so they don't know anything about their grandparents. To pass the time on the train, they try to entertain themselves because the journey to Masonville, where their grandparents live, is quite long. Once they arrive in Masonville, they are warmly welcomed by their grandparents. As usual, Becca documents every moment, including the grandparents' arrival. They then drive to the house. The grandparents' house is located in a remote area, through a forest, and it's winter. When they arrive, the house looks very isolated, with no other houses nearby. Becca and Tyler help their grandmother in the kitchen while chatting. Their grandmother is very affectionate towards them and even wants to hear Tyler's rap skills. After that, Becca and Tyler go to their old bedroom, which used to be their mother's room when she was a child. They unpack their clothes and then go downstairs to see their grandmother making cookies. Their grandparents then head out to the chicken coop. Becca and Tyler do a video call with their mother, who wants to know how they're doing there. It's shown that their mother is with their father, according to Becca and Tyler's plan. Becca sets up the camera to record their activities during the week there, while Tyler goes outside to call his grandfather, who is in the chicken coop. Strangely, when Tyler calls out to his grandfather, the grandfather only glances briefly and then walks away, leaving Tyler confused and curious about what's in the chicken coop. That night, Becca and Tyler are relaxing in their room when their grandfather comes in to tell them that it's bedtime at 10:30 p.m. This surprises Becca and Tyler, who are teenagers, and think of 10 p.m. as still early. They wanted to get some of the grandmother's cookies from the kitchen, but had to abandon that plan since they're not allowed to leave their room at that time. Around 11 p.m., Becca, who can't sleep, decides to go to the kitchen to have some cookies. On the stairs, Becca sees her grandmother pass by and vomit, which frightens Becca and makes her return to her room, abandoning her plan. On Tuesday morning, as if nothing happened, Tyler is talking with his grandmother about his video online. Becca, still curious, decides to check out the chicken coop and finds her grandfather there. He says that the grandmother was sick the night before and that she often gets ill. Becca doesn't need to worry about it. Later, Becca looks for her brother because their grandfather wants to take them around town to see the places their mother used to visit. However, Tyler decides to play hide and seek with Becca under the house. The game starts off fine, but soon takes a strange turn. Their grandmother starts chasing them, her behavior becoming very odd, even laughing hysterically, which makes them a bit scared. Tyler grows increasingly curious about what's in the chicken coop and starts imagining frightening scenarios, including the possibility of a body being there. As Tyler sneaks into the coop after seeing his grandfather leave, he immediately smells something foul and discovers many dirty diapers and other strange items. He quickly runs out, shocked by what he saw. The grandmother later explains that these items are part of the grandfather's unusual habit of storing his diapers in the coop. She apologizes for Tyler having to see this. Becca and Tyler are then taken around town by their grandfather to see their mother's childhood places. They record everything, including Masonville High School, where Loretta used to go. But suddenly their grandfather attacks a man for no apparent reason. Becca and Tyler find their grandparents' behavior increasingly strange and decide to go home. When they return, they start to feel confused about their grandparents' odd behavior. That night, Becca, who was sleeping, was awakened by a strange noise outside their room. Tyler also woke up, and both of them were curious about the sound. Instead of staying in bed, Tyler opened the door and saw their grandmother naked. They were both shocked by this. On Wednesday morning, Becca looked for their grandfather to ask about their grandmother's condition. He explained that their grandmother has a condition called Sundown syndrome. This syndrome typically flares up after dark, causing the grandmother to do frightening and strange things like what happened the previous night. He advised Becca and Tyler not to leave their room after 10:30 p.m. Becca then found their grandmother, who had just made cookies for them, accidentally dirtying her laptop. This was odd because the grandmother seemed to have deliberately smudged the laptop's camera. Tyler started to become suspicious of the grandmother's behavior. Even though Becca tried to explain that their grandmother was just sick and there was nothing to worry about, Tyler remained concerned, especially about the camera that appeared to have been intentionally smeared. As a result, during a video call with their mother couldn't see Becca and Tyler. During the call, Becca and Tyler eventually revealed their concerns about the grandmother's strange behavior. However, Loretta said that such behavior was normal for elderly people, who often act oddly. Becca and Tyler tried to stay positive and not judge their grandparents harshly. Becca then interacted more with her grandmother, helping her bake cookies and clean the oven. Becca then interviewed her grandmother. More odd behavior occurred when Becca asked why her mother left home years ago. The grandmother began to have convulsions, which was quite creepy. Tyler decided to uncover what was really going on. He set up cameras around the house to monitor their grandmother. Despite Becca's objections to this idea, that night Becca and Tyler were awakened again by a strange noise. Driven by curiosity, Tyler tried to open the door to see what was happening. Tyler saw their grandmother running and crawling around. Then Becca explained to Tyler that it was Sundown syndrome. On Thursday morning, Becca and Tyler were taken for a walk into the woods by their grandparents. But strangely, they saw their grandmother staring into an old well for no apparent reason, which was very strange. Tyler then checked inside the well, but found nothing. When they returned to their room, Becca was startled to see their grandmother standing motionless before walking away suddenly. Naturally, this adds to their suspicions that something is wrong with their grandparents. Tyler decides to check some places that their grandfather previously forbade them from seeing, suspecting that there might be something there. However, Becca stops him and insists that Tyler should stay positive. Soon, someone arrives looking for their grandparents, but their grandparents are out again. This is the second time a visitor has come when the grandparents are not home. After the visitor leaves, Tyler hears a strange noise nearby, but it turns out to be just Becca. Becca then resumes vlogging and hears her grandmother laughing alone. Initially, Becca thinks her grandmother is just watching TV, but something seems off. Her grandmother is simply laughing while staring at a picture frame, and when Becca asks her about it, she tries to tie a scarf around her face, but Becca stops her. Her grandmother then tells Becca that she needs to laugh. Panicking, Becca rushes to find her grandfather in the barn, and instead discovers him pointing a gun at his own mouth. He is startled when he sees Becca. At this point, Becca finally agrees to set up cameras around the house to monitor her grandparents at night. That night, the cameras are ready to record, and sure enough, they see their grandmother doing strange things, like repeatedly opening and closing doors. Suddenly, their grandmother looks directly at one of the cameras and takes it down. Becca and Tyler wake up and hear their grandmother trying to open their bedroom door. Becca tells Tyler to stay in bed and be quiet. On Friday morning, after reviewing the footage from the camera, Becca decides to pack their things. She wants that day to be their last day there. Coincidentally, their mother is also returning from vacation that day. Becca and Tyler try hard to avoid suspicion from their grandparents, although the grandmother seems to be aware of something. Becca then interviews her grandfather to distract him. During the interview, Becca and Tyler learn that Stacy, the previous visitor, came to the house, but it seems Stacy was angry with her grandparents. Strangely, Becca and Tyler did not see Stacy leave after being taken to a place by the grandparents. Becca and Tyler continue to act like they don't know anything while waiting for the right time to call their mother. Soon after, they manage to video call Loretta. Luckily, the laptop camera has been cleaned. They tell Loretta all the strange things that have been happening with their grandparents. Loretta becomes extremely worried and panicked because Becca and Tyler ask their mother to pick them up that same day. Since traveling by car takes a long time, Loretta asks her children to be patient and wants to see where her parents are. Tyler then points his camera at the coop where their grandparents are. It turns out that the people they thought were their grandparents are not their real grandparents. All along, Becca and Tyler have been staying with strangers who are not their real grandparents. Loretta panics and tries to text the police but cannot get through. She rushes to the house while asking her children to stay calm. Soon after, the imposter grandparents begin to display increasingly strange behavior on the last day of Becca and Tyler's vacation. At this point, a suspicious photo is also revealed, showing two elderly people who are likely their real grandparents, implying that their actual grandparents may have passed away. That night, Becca and Tyler are asked to help in the kitchen. It becomes increasingly clear that their grandparents are psychopaths. When Becca is asked to clean the oven, she gets locked inside it, though only briefly. This proves that the imposter grandparents are not right in the head. Becca and Tyler then ask for permission to record a video outside, but they actually want to escape. Becca asks Tyler to grab her coat so they can flee, and when they open the door, they find Stacy hanging and dead. The grandpa appears, and Becca and Tyler must face the psychopaths in the house. Becca and Tyler try to pretend everything is normal while interacting with the grandparents, even though they know the grandparents are crazy. During a game, Becca pretends to charge her camera and leaves Tyler alone for a moment. Shortly after, the grandparents' insanity returns, and it's very frightening. Becca goes down to the basement to search for the grandparents. The deeper she goes, the more she finds discarded photos of the real grandparents in hospital gowns from a local psychiatric hospital, indicating that the imposter grandparents are escaped mental patients. Even more shocking, the real grandparents of Becca have been murdered. Soon after, the psychopathic grandfather appears and tries to kill Becca. Tyler has been struck, and Becca is dragged upstairs and locked in a room by the fake grandfather, who then takes Tyler to the kitchen. Becca finds herself in the room with the fake grandmother, whose condition has worsened again. Becca fights to survive against the psychotic grandmother in the room. The grandmother eventually dies, and now Tyler, who has been tortured by the grandfather, faces him. Tyler can only stand frozen without resistance. Shortly after, Becca comes to fight but is overpowered and thrown. At this point, Tyler finally reveals his true self. Overcome with anger, Tyler furiously attacks the fake grandfather, beating him to death. They manage to escape because they hear police sirens, indicating that Loretta has arrived. Terrified, Becca and Tyler go to their mother, and the police start to spread out through the house, and the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.